listening to his car disappear while ocean waves rolled steadily beyond the dunes, a familiar soundtrack to our life. Our home, with its wide glass windows and pale wooden floors, always felt bright and open when the sun streamed in. Yet, whenever Greg traveled, an emptiness echoed through the rooms, no matter how busy I kept myself. So that morning, I decided to clean, reorganize shelves, shake out rugs, let the salt air sweep through, put on my favorite jazz playlist, the gentle saxophone drifting through the living room. I wore a simple white t-shirt and denim shorts, tying my hair up loosely, moving a stool toward the bookshelf. While dusting the upper corners, I sensed, rather than heard, that someone was behind me. When I turned, Ryan Gregg's son was leaning against the doorway, his dark hair tousled from sleep, his expression still soft with the laziness of morning, yet sharpened by something unreadable in his eyes. I greeted him lightly, asking if he wanted breakfast. And he answered with a quiet morning, Amelia. Stepping into the room and dropping onto the sofa, watching me in a way that made me aware of how close the air felt. We began talking about his internship applications, about the projects he hoped would help him move to a bigger city. I listened with genuine interest because I had always tried to support him, not just as a stepmother, but as someone who respected his ambitions. Yet there was an undercurrent to our conversation I could not name. When I stretched upward to straighten a picture frame, the stool shifted unexpectedly beneath my feet and tilted. Before I could catch myself, I felt gravity pulling me backward. Ryan crossed the space in an instant, his hands gripping my waist to steady me, and the shock of nearly falling blended with the shock of his touch. Firm and protective yet hesitant, as though he feared overstepping even while saving me. For a suspended moment, we remained that way, my palms braced against his shoulders, his breath warm against my cheek, our faces inches apart, and in the stillness of the sunlit room, the only sound was the distant crash of waves. I laughed nervously to dissolve the tension, thanking him for catching me. But he did not release me immediately. His gaze searching mine with confusion and something deeper, an admiration or longing that unsettled me. When I stepped back and adjusted my shirt, I felt a flush creeping up my neck, aware that a line had just flickered. We moved to sit on the sofa, closer than usual because the moment had already shrunk the space between us. Silence settled not awkwardly but thickly, like a held breath. I commented on how peaceful mornings felt when the ocean breeze drifted through the windows, and he replied softly that peace felt different when shared with someone who truly understood you, his voice carrying weight beyond casual conversation. My heart responded before my reason could intervene, quickening as if recognizing a truth I did not want to acknowledge. When my fingers brushed his arm in a gesture meant to be reassuring and innocent, the contact seemed charged, and he placed his hand gently over mine, neither gripping nor retreating, simply holding it as if confirming what hummed between us. I remember thinking that we were standing at the edge of something fragile and dangerous, yet instead of stepping back, I felt myself leaning closer, drawn by a warmth that blurred logic, when he whispered my name. The way he said it, stripped of formality and filled with emotion, I felt seen in a way that startled me, as though he perceived not only the role I played in the family, but the woman beneath it, the loneliness I rarely admitted. The kiss that followed was not abrupt, but gradual, a slow erasing of distance that gave me ample opportunity to refuse. Yet I did not, and when our lips met, it was soft, exploratory, almost trembling with disbelief. My mind screamed that this was wrong, that Greg trusted us both, that family boundaries were sacred. But my body responded to the closeness, to the sincerity in Ryan's hesitant embrace. We held each other as if suspended outside time, his heartbeat racing against my palm, mine echoing the rhythm. For those few reckless minutes, the world narrowed to sunlight and breath, and the intoxicating illusion that we belonged. The illusion shattered when the front door opened and Greg's voice called cheerfully that he was home early. A sudden change of plans, and the shock snapped through me like cold water. Ryan stepped back instantly, guilt flooding his features, and I forced composure onto my face. Before walking to greet my husband, who wrapped me in a familiar hug, unaware that everything inside me had shifted. I answered his questions, listened to his travel stories, accepted the small gift he had brought, all while feeling as though I were standing in two realities at once: the stable life with Greg and the forbidden spark with Ryan. In the days that followed, the house felt different, heavy with unsaid words. Ryan avoided prolonged eye contact when Greg was present, yet in quiet corners, the memory pulsed between us. I oscillated between guilt and longing, chastising myself for weakness, yet recalling how alive I had felt. One afternoon, when Greg went out with friends, Ryan joined me in the backyard where I was watering the roses. The golden light of sunset cast everything in softness that belied the turmoil inside us. That whatever we felt could not outweigh the years Greg and I had invested together. He admitted he could not erase the memory that every glance replayed in his mind. But about unmet needs, about loneliness unspoken, about the dangerous comfort of being understood. With trembling resolve, I told him we had to let go, that caring for each other meant choosing distance. And though sorrow darkened his eyes, he nodded, stepping away as if relinquishing something precious. That night, I sat awake beside the wide window, staring at the moonlit ocean, understanding that responsibility demands sacrifice. The next morning, I sought him out in the kitchen, determined to end the lingering tension. And I told him clearly that we could not continue to blur lines, that respect for Greg and for ourselves required restraint. He agreed, though his voice carried the ache of finality, and from that day forward, we constructed careful boundaries. Polite conversation, measured distance, deliberate avoidance of intimacy. Yet, even as normalcy gradually returned, I carried within me the awareness of how thin the boundary between right and wrong can be. How a single unguarded moment can reveal vulnerabilities we did not know we possessed. I remained devoted to Greg, more attentive, more honest about my loneliness during his trips. And he, in turn, tried to balance work with presence, unaware of the storm that had nearly undone us. Containing within it an entire chapter never spoken aloud. Sometimes when the house is quiet and the waves echo through the open windows, I remember that morning sunlight and the warmth of a choice almost made permanent. And I remind myself that love is not only about passion, but about the discipline to protect what truly matters, even when temptation feels like understanding. And that realization, more than the memory of any touch, is what has stayed with me ever since.